Welcome to the Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Yuba, and today we're going to get some insight into university information. My guest today is Jessica Velasco. She is the Assistant of Political Science and Public Affairs at Sul Ross State University. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So usually I start my guests where they went to college. So where'd you go to school?
I went to my bachelor's degree. I got from Texas A&M University in College Station, and then liked it so much I stayed for a master's degree.
Wow.
And then did some postgraduate work at Sul Ross State University. That's where I have some graduate credits, and then my doctoral degree from Valdosta State in Georgia.
Wow.
Yeah, so lots of university experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's just go back in time before we get into the universities and everything. In high school, when did you start thinking about going to college? Was it freshman year, senior year? When did it all begin for you?
I started thinking about college when I was like 5 years old.
Wow.
I don't know what it was that I saw or something, but it was something that I was like, I want to be a lawyer and I'm going to go to Harvard. It was and that was before Legal Line, so it wasn't that, way before that. And so I was just very determined. Somehow that was on my radar very early in life. And
wow.
So, yeah, very goal directed towards college, very, very young.
So now you graduate high school and you go to college. What's the college experience like for you?
Well, I came from, I wouldn't say that my hometown was small. I graduated from Hobbs High School, which is in Hobbs, New Mexico, and I graduated with a class of around 400, my senior class is around 400 students, and so it's not tiny, but Texas A&M, of course, in comparison to that, is overwhelmingly large, and I felt very overwhelmed at first, but if you know anything about Texas A&M, you know they do a fabulous job of really making you feel like you're part of it. And I went to fish camp and came back from fish camp, and they did a very amazing job of brainwashing me and enculturating me into A&M, and so it felt right at home. And so it was a nice transition because of how well they did with that transition. Yes.
Good. So now you graduate from Texas A&M, and of course you go and get a master's in doctorate. How does one go from there to becoming a professor?
So, initially, like I said, I wanted to be a lawyer, and I was at A&M as a pre-law undergraduate and making good grades, and then I got a B in college, and I felt like my world had fallen apart and thought I'd lost all my chances of going to law school at Harvard. And then around that time, I became a resident advisor and became aware of this career track called Student Affairs, and found out there was a program at A&M that was a Student Affairs program.
Wow.
And so kind of redirected that one decision to become a resident advisor, really just opened that door to me. And so that's I started in the outside of the classroom with student development, and then did that for many years. And then political science was pre-law political science was my undergraduate major. And so went through much of my life working in higher education, but always stayed very interested and involved in politics and the public administration side of things and implementation of policy.
Yeah.
And so always kind of knew I wanted to go back and do more. And I had some struggles actually with deciding between whether I wanted to go higher education leadership and get a doctorate there and just stay in administration, or if I wanted to teach in the classroom political science and public administration. And so that's why I took some additional classes at Sul Ross to kind of figure that out. Like, let me take some more public administration, political science, and see if that's where I want to be, or if I want to go back into administration and the higher education side, and decided I want to teach. So looked for a doctoral program, and here I am.
So now, how many years have you been there?
I have been at Sul Ross as a full-time professor since 2018. So about four-ish years, yeah. Yeah,
and while there, student athletes, do you work with both?
Absolutely. I'm an advisor for all of the students in my program, and then student athletes, I'm kind of their main point of contact when they have any type of academic issue, or if they're just having trouble navigating some of the process stuff that goes along with being a college student. And I think, as most people who have experienced college know, it's not an easy process. Even for people who are educated and know it, it sometimes can be overwhelming. And so I'm there to really help them find the right person to talk to, find the right form to fill out, go to the right website, So I do a lot of that, absolutely.
So now when a student comes to the university and they get to know you, what's the process that you give them? What are the steps that you give a freshman coming in and saying, I'm here?
Yeah. I think in terms of once they're already at the university, I try to just really ask them a lot of questions. How are you doing? Is there anything that you're struggling with finding? What is it that you need? Because I find sometimes, and this might come from, I spent some time actually working also in a private management company, and learned a lot about sales. And this, I don't like connecting higher education with business usually, but there's some points that matter, and that is when you should be letting them do more of the talking when you're trying to help and provide a service to someone. And so I tend to ask a lot of questions, and I let that guide me in terms of what information I provide.
Sure. Yeah. So you're giving that to the students.
Mm-hmm.
And now, as the students get older, do you keep track of them as they go through sophomore year, junior year, senior year?
As much as I can, and as much as they're willing to let me. And it's a small campus, and so we run into each other at the grocery store, and
Wow.
it's a small community and small campus, so I have that privilege. Some people might not like that, but I like running into them outside of the working world. So yeah, we try to stay very in touch with our students, and we have a small campus population of about 1,400 on campus.
Wow.
And so it's a little easier to do that. And I also teach 2 of the large government survey courses for our first year and second year students, so I get to meet a lot of them through that. Wow. And then make that connection. So
now, political science. When a student comes to school for political science, what are they actually learning?
So we're learning about the process, the people, and the institutions that help govern our country. And there's different ways. Like, a lot of people think of politics and they think, oh, I would nothing to do with that because I do not want to go into politics. But that's not all it is. It's learning how our government works, how public services are provided, how policy decisions are made, how to come up with alternatives to solve public problems. And I think most people actually find that very interesting. Like, a lot of people can find easy ways to criticize what's going on in government, and then they also have opinions about what we should be doing. And I'm like, you're thinking about public policy, and it's so fun to have those conversations. So some people, the going into politics not their thing, but thinking about policy problems is their thing. But also things going into law as well, like into actually, law school and making the laws that we then implement in public administrations.
Now, do you see students taking that and going into sports?
So our biggest major in terms of our student athletes is the kinesiology, because there's definitely an easy tie to that, and that's the world they live in with working in sports. But we have a pretty good diversity. Our public administration and political science programs are not high enrolled right now, and that's actually a trend across the country. And I think a lot of that can be blamed on the state of politics in our country and how people feel about politics. They don't want to do anything with it. And so we don't have high enrollments. I don't have a lot of majors, but we're constantly trying to recruit them. And usually I find that that's how we do it. I do it through my interactions with my students and the projects they get to do in the class.
So now, what type of information would you give high school students coming to school? What type of information would you give them when they're coming to a school like Salvador State?
I would tell them they have a great opportunity, especially at a small university, to really be a part of a lot of things. When you have a small campus, you really need students to get involved in things, to make things possible, like to make those choices possible. So I say, get involved in activities, really invest yourself in your classes, because there's so many doors that are going to be open to you. We need presidents of our student organizations. And we as faculty members want to do research with you, and I think you really have that opportunity to be much more personal and have many more opportunities. And so I tell my students, like, get out there and get involved, find the things that you like, and also be open to new experiences. Because I think so many people, I have one of those majors that people, you say political science, and they think of it, like I said, like, oh, that's just politics. I don't want to do that. And they don't have a full sense of what that really entails and what you can do with it. And so I think really using their introductory courses to explore what's out there, and to not be so focused and not feel like, and I have a high schooler right now, and actually we've been having a lot of these conversations about not feeling like he has to kind of focus too much right now. We want him to explore and to be open and not to be too focused on one track and close himself off to the opportunities that might be better for him. On the other side of that too, I also try to tell my students that don't let one class dictate whether or not you're going to like a discipline. Because in any job, in any work that you do, there are going to be parts you don't like. And one of the quotes I used to love, actually, that I really hate now, is the quote that says, if you find something that you like to do, you'll never work a day in your life. And I really don't like that. Because, again, like I said, there's no matter what you do, there are going to be parts you don't like. And if you can get through those parts you don't like, you can find the enjoyment. And that's with everything, with relationships, with jobs, with everything. In exercise, athletics,
Sure.
You have to push through the hard parts to get to the enjoyment. And so I really encourage students, don't give up on something just because of one class.
So now give us a sense of the environment at the university. Where is it? How many kids in a class?
Okay.
Give us a sense of
Absolutely.
what it's like there.
Yeah, so Sorrel State University is in Alpine, Texas, and we are about 100 miles north of Big Bend National Park. We are far away we're about 3 hours from a major airport, and so we are kind of isolated, which is a blessing and a curse, right? So it's great because it's beautiful, great air, great water, like very great place to be outside, great weather, very temperate, not humid. And so it's a great place to be outside and explore nature, and so that's great for a lot of people. But it also allows you to escape some of the hustle and bustle that exists. Sure. I don't waste time in traffic. I don't waste time driving anywhere. It's all like a 1-minute drive, which is bad for some people, in some ways, because I've become a very sloppy driver. And when I come to big cities, I'm very corrected in that. But I think there's a lot of benefit to that. And we have our rodeo team at Solrust, which, wow, because we have such open spaces, we have a lot of space to have a big rodeo program, and that's a national known program. We had 3 students actually competing in the big world championships, whatever, and it's escaping me right now what the name of that is called, but the PRCA, whatever, rodeo and bull riding. And wow, we're very well known in that regard. But yeah, just a great little gem to go and kind of get away and be outside, but to have still opportunities.
Beautiful. Well, we're coming to the end of our show, and usually I ask my guests, what advice do you want to give to parents and students that are watching this? What advice do you want to give them?
So this is something really important to me right now. I think that we have seen a big crisis of credibility and of expertise in our country right now, and with that, the value of education. And I think that it's really important for parents and students to know that education isn't just about getting a job. And of course, with me, this is a really deep, compelling thing to me as a professor of political science, that I find it very important to have an educated society to maintain our democracy. And so going to college isn't just about getting tangible skills that will get you to a specific job. It's about learning about yourself and about learning how to be a good citizen and a good person. And so if you learn to value it and look at it in that way, I think that you can find a win-win no matter where you go and what you do.
Great. Well, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So you've been watching The Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Uva. Until next time.